Guys, I really didn't think I'd have to make an apology video this early into my YouTube career, but it has to be done. I apologize. In my latest theory video, I was exposed as a Sukuna glazer. I have spent so long trying to build a platform of Sukuna haters, and in just one video I threw it all away. I am truly very sorry. So, as an apology, I offer you this video of me putting Sukuna back in the fraud pile where he belongs because Yuji Itadori has officially dethroned the king of cooking. So let's get straight into why Sukuna is so dog shit. So let's get straight into why Yuji Itadori is the strongest sorcerer in history. Yuji has learned a lot since the beginning of Jujutsu Kaisen, where he could barely channel any cursed energy. The more recent chapters of Jujutsu Kaisen have shown the true extent of his growth, as he has learnt so many valuable abilities like reverse curse technique, blood manipulation, and even some secrets about the soul. The soul is going to be a key focus of this video, and we'll be constantly coming back to it and why it's important for both Yuji and Sukuna specifically. To start this theory though, we're going to work our way through from start to finish because there is a lot of early information given to us in Jujutsu Kaisen, which is only now becoming important. Itadori technically has 3 genetic parents: Jin Itadori, Kaori Itadori, and Kenjaku the backshock-taking mummy milker homewrecker. Kenjaku has actually revealed the bare minimum of information about why he had Itadori in the first place, and claiming he was designed as a vessel. Yuji would grow up living a fairly normal life with his grandfather, and he was always insanely strong and just built different all round. His grandfather died before he could reveal a secret about Yuji's parents, which suggests that he knew about Jujutsu and that he may have been a sorcerer himself, which is just really cool. Sorcerers can't really be involved with other non-sorcerers because it makes things a little complicated. We know Kaori was a sorcerer, however, so it's very likely that her husband Jin was a sorcerer too. After eating Sukuna's finger, Gojo informs us that Yuji's ability to be a vessel suppressing Sukuna is a very rare ability seen once every 1,000 years. He also later explains that as of now, Yuji does not have a curse technique, but he will learn Sukuna's curse technique over time. This suggests that whatever is making Yuji such a strong vessel is not an innate curse technique, but more of a trait or attribute similar to Gojo's 6 Eyes. Now, since this video is about unraveling the full extent of Yuji's true potential, it's necessary. What the f does necessary mean? Now, since this video is about unraveling the extent of Yuji's true potential, it's necessary to first examine Sukuna. Necessary. It is necessary. See, I got it right that time. After all, Gojo did say that he would learn Sukuna's curse technique. Obviously, we're not going to go into anywhere near as much detail as the last video, because this is Yuji's time and Sukuna. The main idea we're going to focus on here is the soul, but there's also the theme of eating and consuming, which is so important for Sukuna. After reading over 400 comments about Ryomen Ramsey, I actually decided to slightly revise my theory in favor of this idea of eating and cooking. All Sukuna does is talk about eating what he wants, and his whole thing is just having mouths everywhere. Malevolent Shrine is a massive mouth. His Heian form has 2 mouths. Hell, even when he was in Itadori, he could randomly manifest mouths. This guy just loves mouths. He also loves to refer to things as a meal, for instance when he called Yuta the main dish. Now, remember when Gojo said Yuji's ability to suppress Sukuna is only seen every 1,000 years? Well, here is my batshit crazy theory. Sukuna was the last person to be born with that ability or trait of having an indomitable soul and immense strength as a vessel. It actually makes a scary amount of sense. Sukuna literally compared Yuji's own unbreakable will and indomitable soul to his own in chapter 249. I think it was chapter 249. Okay, I didn't actually check that before recording this. You know what I mean. It would also explain Sukuna's technique and that time he used a flame arrow. I think Sukuna collects and adds techniques to his shrine by literally consuming the soul of the original user. I think his innate technique is simply dismantle and cleave, but it's paired up with a very rare trait of being able to consume souls as a vessel. This trait of being a vessel and having an indomitable soul is confirmed as something Yuji has, and it's not a technique. It's more like the 6 Eyes, where it's a rare trait you're born with. This would explain why Sukuna's innate technique is literally just dismantle and cleave, which is actually very fitting for a character capable of consuming souls. Gege literally uses the imagery of kitchen knives to explain cleave, so his slicing technique is sort of the perfect match for the soul trait, since its purpose is literally to break down and prepare his food for consumption. The fire arrow is likely the technique of a soul he already consumed, since we see no signs of a condition being fulfilled in order to consume part of Jogo's soul. The fire does also look completely different to Jogo's, and I think Sukuna just decided a fire-on-fire fight was fun, I guess. The open chant is him opening his shrine and selecting a technique acquired through consumption of a soul with said technique. This perfectly explains how the slices and shrine are a technique paired with the perfect trait in order to make them effective. Just like how the limitless technique and 6 Eyes complement each other perfectly but are very rarely seen together. Sukuna also has a habit of communicating with his opponent's souls momentarily after death. He also supposedly has the ability to change the shape of his own soul to some degree, since he didn't always look like his Heian era form and he would have had to change the shape of his body somehow. This information, in addition to Sukuna's ability to consume souls, would suggest that he has awareness of the soul. After all, he did protect his own soul against idol transfiguration from Mahito. Sukuna's apparent awareness of the soul only supports the idea of being the perfect vessel for the souls that he consumes, since Yuji's awareness of the soul seems to have come from hosting Sukuna as a vessel. So by comparison, Sukuna hosting other souls as a vessel will give him enough awareness of the soul to be able to protect his own soul, and potentially communicate with the souls of others. And yes, I know this has been about Sukuna so far, but please man, just let me cook. There's nothing worse than a raw theory. To summarize, Sukuna and Yuji share a rare trait of being vessels capable of housing multiple souls and then utilizing their abilities. Yes, multiple, because Yuji consumed all 6 remaining curse, ball, death, womb, those things, the things with the blood manipulation, the death, womb, nutsack paintings. The point is, he consumed them all and then utilized their blood manipulation ability. If everybody takes Gojo's words as pure facts, which everybody should, we can assume Yuji will have Sukuna's technique, and that he was also born with the same trait of having an unbreakable soul. I think it's very apparent when you look at Yuji and Yuji's granddad that they both share incredibly similar looks to Sukuna. This leads me to believe that Yuji, his dad, and granddad are all distantly related to Sukuna, which would explain the shared trait. Kenjaku ensured that Yuji would become Sukuna's vessel and allowed Sukuna's shrine technique to start ingraining itself into Yuji, and this would effectively lead to the potential of another Sukuna being created, but I think this one is going to be considerably stronger, and it's all thanks to Kenjaku. Kenjaku is still a character shrouded in mystery, but we know that his curse technique allows him to swap bodies and learn all of their knowledge, abilities, and techniques. Even if Yuji has all the abilities Sukuna does, he still doesn't have the experience, the domain, the cursed energy, or the brains to defeat Sukuna. So why do I think Yuji will surpass him? Well, it's because Yuji has a little sprinkle of Kenjaku sauce in there that Sukuna doesn't have. It's basically a direct improvement of Sukuna's abilities. You may be asking how Yuji can suppress Sukuna as a vessel if Sukuna has an unbreakable soul too. Well, I think Kenjaku's added bonus to Yuji just about gives him the edge in a soul tug of war. Keep in mind though, souls would naturally be totally suppressed. However, Sukuna stayed very present in Yuji's mind and could even manifest parts of himself when he wanted. Yuji also suppressed 6 souls when eating the Curse Womb Death paintings, so Sukuna is clearly unnaturally is not a word. Sukuna is clearly unnaturally strong, but Yuji is just strong. There is, however, a much more significant advantage Kenjaku added to Project Sukuna 2.0, the ability to swap souls entirely. Sukuna adds abilities and techniques to his shrine by defeating opponents and then consuming their souls. At least that's my theory. Yuji has no need for defeating and eating, however. He can cheat and learn the other sorcerer's knowledge, abilities, and maybe even techniques by simply swapping souls. It makes sense, since this is effectively what it would look like if you paired Yuji's soul trait with Kenjaku's swapping ability, which is exactly what I think has happened here. Yuta literally told Sukuna that they improved so much in 1 month by cheating. It's also in this month that we see the weird panel of Yuji supposedly swapping with Kusakabe. It's my belief that Yuji swapped with Shoko and was able to decode her weird understanding of reverse curse technique to a level where he can actually heal his entire stomach. I think he also swapped with Kusakabe in this panel to learn a perfect form of simple domain in order to prepare for the possibility of facing Malevolent Shrine. I genuinely see no flaws with this theory. It all just clicks perfectly into place from beginning to end. But in case you aren't convinced by my theory of Sukuna's soul consumption, then let me show you one more piece of key evidence. When having his life threatened by the technique nullifying power of Jacob's Ladder, Sukuna did not instantly eliminate the threat by cleaving on contact. No. He genuinely tried to eat Angel whole. Now, I'm sure eliminating the threat was important to Sukuna, but what may have interested Sukuna even more was gaining a technique capable of literally removing other techniques. For example, Infinity. To be honest, I think my revised Sukuna theory in this video was even better than in Sukuna's own damn video. You can't really talk about one of these characters without talking about the other, however, and I needed to make Sukuna comparable to Yuji in order for me to draw this conclusion. But despite Sukuna currently having the cursed energy and experience advantage, when Yuji properly awakens and understands the full extent of his power, he will dethrone Sukuna and become the strongest sorcerer in history. And again, it's all thanks to Kenjaku's curiosity and goal of creating something pushing the limits of Jujutsu. Kenjaku acknowledged Sukuna as the current limit, so it makes sense that he would try and create a new and improved Sukuna 2.0. I feel like everything discussed here just fits so well together, and I really hope I'm right, since I've never been so convinced by my own damn theory. It's been discussed since the very beginning that Yuji would take up Sukuna's technique, but at the time we thought it was as simple as just dismantle and cleave. And as much as it's very possible that Yuji does just take up dismantle and cleave, I think it's more about the shrine and collecting abilities via manipulating the soul in some way. The only real curveball now is Tengen. Just before I wrap this up, I want to give a massive thank you for all the support on my latest video. It got over 150k views in 3 days, which is genuinely crazy to me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, comment any questions you have or any theories of your own, and I'm also sorry that this video is a little late, but man needs to sleep sometime this year, you know? Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.